This is a true noise presentation of Mr. Christian Prommer. His first time in Romania. My name is The Model, and I'll be your host for tonight.
Oh wow, I'm so honored to be guest of The Model.
Guest of The Model. So that sounded professionally. Welcome, and I hope you're feeling good for your first time in Romania.
Excellent, excellent. It's a beautiful place, beautiful people, amazing.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how you started out.
How I started out.
How you started out?
How I started out. Basically, as a kid, I picked up, started playing drums when I was like 11-ish. Sort of, there was the time way back, almost like black and white TV time. Okay. And I started banging on stuff, and I picked up the drums and played drums and got into technology as well at the same time. The Commodore C64. Yep. Got this like little sound chip where I could do things, and simultaneously I played drums and discovered jazz and fusion and really got into heavy record listening. I was like, the fortunate meeting of a super teacher that sort of the first thing before we played even music, he said, okay, you have to listen to the masters. And then we spent weeks of listening. Yeah, exactly. And he played Weather Report and Earth, Wind & Fire and Prince and Michael Jackson, all those stuff.
11?
I was 11, 12, 13. Yeah, I had the luck of growing up in a very music fixated neighborhood. So everybody was like into jazz and fusion and soul. There was no pop, no new wave, no Neue Deutsche Welle was big at that time. But somehow in my... No, it was really just black music. It was amazing. One of my first concerts was Weather Report. And the next one was Billy Cobham. And then after that, I went to Chicoria. So before I went to see like a German pop band, like Pop, they're from Cologne and they do like lyrics in German. Before that, I had the serious jazz stuff. And then I played drums and I was really into music. Okay. Of course, when you're like then 14, 15, you're like nuts about it. It's the only thing you want to do, school or girls, whatever, I don't care.
We can relate to that.
Exactly. And then I had a friend who was also a drummer, Roland Appel. We always were like competitors, I'm way cooler, I have this thing, and he was like, but I play with the cool band, blah, blah. And I was always the little guy, not so, because I was younger. And I was like always trying and doing stuff, and so it was really cute. And then 5 years later, I met Roland again, and he stopped playing drums and he became a DJ, basically. And that's the guy I founded Faunaflesh with. Basically, and he played records for me. I will never forget it. One night through, he played music to me that I never heard before, and I was totally blown away by the music that didn't exist on CD. I had no idea about vinyl back then, mid-90s, early 90s. I was like listening.
CDs back then?
Yeah, there was CDs, of course. The CD came 84 or 83, something like that, or 85 maybe. But in the 90s there was like. And still, this forgotten music. Roy Ayers, Curtis Mayfield, all those tracks, Marvin Gaye, the Mizell Brothers, all this kind of soulful, funky, groove-driven music. I was like, and I always felt there was a place where I said there must be more than Dr. Dre and Snoop and blah 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 and Earth, Wind & Fire. No, it was cool. But that was so I was totally into Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. The guys from Minneapolis who did the time. They did the time. They produced all the Janet Jackson records that sort of matter. They were involved with early Prince stuff. They did the SOS band. They're sort of the kings of the 808 in R&B. So, but commercial stuff, commercial stuff. And I really got into that, and I figured out these guys, they do a record. It's like one song, and they do 12 versions. So that was the first time I got sort of a remix. What's a remix? And I was still playing drums and sort of, but listening to this kind of thing. And then I went to London and went into the Blue Note and heard my first drum and bass metalhead session. And sort of that changed my life completely. And that's when Roland and we sort of played records to each other, and he showed me that, there's this vinyl side of life. And then we got into drum and bass, and there was Faunaflesh was born, and we sort of recorded music.
Remember that?
There is the vinyl side of life. That's what Mr. Prommer said.
But that's
a good line.
Yeah, that's the best line. And I think that's the beauty of music. That there's so much stuff still secret. It's not on YouTube. It's not on iTunes. It's not on SoundCloud or not on Discogs. It's still the vinyl side of life. there's still a lot of stuff that can sort of be discovered, and I think that, and for me there was like opening a door to a new world. I had no idea. I always felt, you know, that there must be more than the commercial stuff. You know, I was like a big Prince devotee. I think that's sort of the school I went through. I was always interested in black music more than in I'd never sort of. Now I get Police, but back then I didn't get Police. So I was like, yeah.
I still don't get Police.
Okay. Yeah, I try. Okay. So, and that's basically where I come from. And also, I was like growing up in a sort of home that was not musical, very technology driven. My dad was an engineer, studied physics and blah, blah, blah. So we always had like technology in the house. And that's what got me interested in technology, basically computers and stuff. And I was like the first Mac in the house. You know, it was like, well, what kind of music can we get out of the Macintosh? And then the Amiga and then the Atari and all those things. You know, it was really always exciting. And that's when when I was playing drums, the people I used like triggers to sample sounds from my drums, and people always said to me, "Don't bring your toys to the gig." And I was like, "Okay, I'm not happy, you know, like this." And then I quit playing drums basically and just program beats, and that's basically.
You can still play drums.
I still, yeah. Now I do it again. You know, 20 years later, I started my drum lesson project. Started after I did Fauna Flash, the drum and bass thing, and Tribi Trio, and Voom Voom. As everything stopped, and I said, "Okay, what's next?" And I played drums again, and then I'm a happy drummer now. Still learning, so.
Still learning?
Still learning. No, I know nothing.
Okay, that's a little surprising, but we'll take it as true.
That's I think that's the great thing about music, that for once of course everybody knows it. The more you know, the less you know. The more you know that you know nothing. But you know, the traveling and the getting inspirational from different points of the globe, like coming here and sort of feeling the vibe of the people here is like really inspiring you and changing your life altogether. So tomorrow I'm gonna be a different person than I was yesterday. And then of course that's why when you do music, you never sort of have a status where you sort of, this is it for me. Maybe there are people that have that, but I don't have it.
Actually, that's kind of relating to my next question. I know you're doing a new album. You finished a new album and you're releasing it, or it's released already? It's released already for
a month now.
Couple. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. Where are you at now with this album, and what is the? Because I know how it works for me. Every 2-3 years, I sound differently. And it's like a new idea, a new concept behind it. And I was curious, I'd be curious to know, for your album, what is the concept now?
But do you mean the Prommer and Bark album?
Yes.
Yes, but that basically came out of me working for Sonar Collective on my drum lesson project, Alex being a DJ and like a very inspirational music hunter. He always plays me music I never heard before, still. And we sort of got together and thought, okay, why don't we... But we didn't really lay it out. It was like it happened incidentally, that we just figured out a way to do a record like we did in the 90s with Tribi Trio and Jazzanova, like a lot of samples and like have a blueprint for every track and sort of, okay, what do you think of this idea? But we condensed it now with the technology available and really made it like into a faster and a more intense process, you know, that you can use like many influences in one song, not like opposed to back in the days when you just had, you were so happy when you could get one sample in time, you know. It was like, yes, my day. And now it's like 5 minutes and you got everything going. And this was basically us, you know, letting everything go, the Jazzanova thing, the drum lesson or whatever, and just...
If I may just interrupt you for a second, you're saying that now, after so many years of experience, you can put more stuff into your projects and still have it make sense.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it makes sense, but I'm having a good time doing it. You know, it's not my perspective is not. You know, I'm not going to decide if it makes sense. But I think there's really. I always think that a record is only like a Polaroid of the moment. It's never perfect. There's no perfect record. You always the next day you say, oh, I should have changed this. Oh, this is way too long. This intro is bad. Blah blah blah. You know, you never. For me, it never works like that. It's like I have okay. This is the moment. That's fine. Let's move on. And I think every record is like a Polaroid of that moment where you said, okay, this is for now. And you would do the same record next day, totally different. And I think that, and the beauty with Alex is that he has an amazing music knowledge, and we get together, and I'm like always like this. I'm like, what? Where did this come from? You know, and he's like always playing stuff, and I can, you know, I'm pretty okay playing stuff. You know, and he plays me things, and I get into, you know, playing the keys or doing something, and we sort of feed off each other, and we're like a band, like a boy band. Somebody said, you know, like gray heads boy band. No, but that's I'm really excited about it because it's also, you know, my drum lesson project. It gets a little more. It's a little more for concerts, and I have a band now, and it's really good for me to have a project, something that goes back to the club, and the people play the music in the clubs again, because I think it's really, for me, it makes sense to have something that sort of goes back to the place where the music lives, you know, like the crime scene, you know, and that's the club for me. Okay. I think if it makes sense in the club, then it's good. If it makes it in a concert hall, it's fine. But for me, I want that energy of the club, the bass, and the rhythm and everything. And if I see,
would it be safe to say that deep down you feel like a club person?
Sort of, yeah. But I have really an interesting sort of. I never went to the club to party. I always went for the music reason. So, you know, there's people that went to.
I can relate to that.
There's music and party and girls and ecstasy and, you know. And I was like always like more listening to the music and got into the whole club thing through the music.